go with this vehicle. You can see again, top right hand corner, A is kind of mapped to the fans blowing. You'll see just in here we've got the two fans, and we've got this kind of wedge shaped thing on the front to sort of push it. There's the junk in the middle, and that's the hatch at the back. Now it's kind of fairly straightforward, except for the fact we've got these two guys on the left and right of the hatch. They're called grunt bots, and they're essentially Grunty's minions, and they're going to try and stop the junk getting in. So my first attempt was basically have a go with this big, heavy, powerful vehicle, get as close as I can, and activate my fan, and I can blow a few pieces. You can see a few go in there. At the top, that got up to 3, so it wasn't quite as good as I would have hoped. But then I could try and push the rest in using my vehicle. And I experimented with this for a bit, but then I realised actually this vehicle is kind of big and heavy, and it was good initially at pushing it, but at this stage it's not all that manoeuvrable. So then what I did is I kind of quit the challenge and modified my vehicle. So what I can do is I can choose a blueprint, and if I go create vehicle, it will take me straight into the editor where I can actually modify the vehicle that I've got. So as a sort of quick introduction to the editor, it's a very simple tool to use. All the, you can move up and down the layers. It's all color coordinated so that you know exactly where you are. But at the same time, it's also very powerful. And as Mark said, it really is up to the player how far into the editing they want to go. For a sort of more advanced player, they can really go to town and build pretty much anything they like. So what I did is I thought, well, this vehicle's great initially, it's big and heavy and strong, but I kind of needed a method of mopping up the bits that I failed to get in initially. So what I did is I moved his seat up here, and I actually thought, well, I could actually make sort of almost 2 vehicles within one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just add another engine up to this sort of second vehicle that's kind of on the top here, so that it's got its own power. It'll also need its own fuel. And then I put a folding propeller on the top. Now what this enables it to do is it'll actually enable this part of the vehicle to fly, but only when I actually activate the propeller. So having done that, I went ahead and put what we call a sticky ball on the back. So you can kind of see basically what I've got now is I've got this kind of little mini helicopter at the back with this sticky ball, and I've got the main vehicle at the front. And what I'm going to do is just connect the two together using what we call the detacher. A detacher is a really cool gadget because it enables you to actually detach one part of the vehicle from the rest mid-challenge. So I can actually, as you can probably guess, I can use the vehicle as intended initially, then I can detach my little helicopter and go around kind of mopping up the other bits with this ball. And I thought that might be a reasonable solution. So now that that vehicle's done, I can exit the garage and have a go with this one. So I can actually reorder the buttons on the top right corner again using the D-pad. I can quickly assign which buttons I want on each one. So I'm going to put the sticky balls on X. I'm going to put my fan on B. Okay. So again, I can try initially like I did before, pushing it as far as I can, getting as many in using that first method. Actually got a few more in this one. Then I can activate my propeller and detach my helicopter. So now I can, obviously it's completely changed the use of this vehicle. And what I can do now is to go around and try and mop up the last few pieces with the sticky ball. So you can see the gruntbots having a go at my vehicle, but that's kind of keeping them busy, which is actually quite good.
So something like this gadget, this sticky ball, this is quite advanced into the game where Neil is here. But getting that later in the game will then allow you to come back and start to replay some of the early challenges if you wanted to, with a completely different mechanism. What we found by that is that often the best way of approaching the challenge is not the obvious way. And a lot of the times it's people just thinking out of the box. Other times it's children going, well, why can't I build that? Couldn't I build that? Let's try this method. And that's provided a lot of different routes and a lot of different mechanisms of completing the challenge in the best way. And sometimes you're able to sort of scrape little tenths off your times or do it a little bit quicker, and then you'll see a completely different method from somewhere that will come in and halve the amount of time that a challenge is done in, or double the score that a challenge has awarded. And that's what we've seen is providing the longevity and the replayability in this concept, because we've built a very sort of physics-based persistent world that gives you the building blocks of how to approach the challenges, and then it just gives you a problem, and it's up to the player how they actually solve it.